My name is Mary Ann Rasmussen, and I am with the Center for Organizational and Workforce Effectiveness right here on campus at UC Berkeley. And I'm very pleased to present and introduce our first speaker. Actually, I guess after John Wilton, you'd be our second speaker. Vanessa George. And I want to tell you a little bit about Vanessa. Vanessa is a leadership and career consultant with more than 25 years of experience, management experience in a variety of industries, including high-tech, healthcare, nonprofit, and academe. She's coached hundreds of individuals on all aspects of career development. She's trained more than 1,000 people on a range of professional development and personal branding topics, such as networking, mentoring, managing up, and she's led the Women of Color Action Network, which is a nonprofit focused on women's development. She's led that for 10 years. She provides private career coaching and consultation to individuals and to organizations. And some of those organizations are Lee Hecht Harrison, UC Berkeley Extension, where she's currently teaching a Women in Leadership program, UCSF, and Cal State Monterey Bay. Vanessa holds a BA from Stanford, an MBA from
somebody has to.
Georgetown. We can't get all the good ones here. And she's pursuing her PhD in organizational psychology at the California School for Professional Psychology and has just taken a new position at the University of San Francisco. What is your new title at the University of San Francisco?
Ta-da!
Associate Director of Graduate Career Services. So it's my pleasure to introduce Vanessa George.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. So happy to see all of you here. Oh, I see another face. So last night I just taught a course on Social Media 101, and so I see two of my classmates here from last night. So it's wonderful to see familiar faces from last night and to see all of you here this morning. So we are going to talk about building your network, and this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart, but it's actually a topic that I do know that many people have said they would rather go to the dentist than go out and network. That network can inspire fear and loathing, in the hearts of many people. And so my job this morning is to share with you that networking can be actually a lot of fun. So quick question before we get started. How many of you would say that you enjoy networking with a show of hands? So, okay, kind of a half a hand, Well, we're going to cover several things this morning. We're going to have some fun. We're going to get to know each other. And I'm going to teach you 10 secrets to becoming a very effective networker. As I go along, if you have questions, feel free to just raise your hand. Because we are videotaping this morning, we will need to bring a mic over to you. So if you have questions, raise your hand and we'll come over and bring the mic. But we're going to go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to go over the power of strategic networking. We're going to talk a little bit about what inspires anxiety in some people, perhaps not you all, but in some people around networking. I'm going to do some exercises, have a little fun, and then go over the top 10 secrets to building your network. And at the end, I'm going to give you all some homework, because this is a university. You got to have homework. Now, it's not a test. I'm not going to come back and hunt you down on LinkedIn and quiz you. But that's a good idea. But I'm going to share with you a very insightful exercise to help you think about how do you evaluate the strength and the power and the effectiveness of your network as it stands right now. So first off, let's talk about what strategic networking is. Have any of you heard the term strategic networking? So a few. When we talk about strategic networking, it's not just about friends. So you see on the left side, there are roles, and on the right side, there are benefits. Many people tend to think of their network as their circle of friends and acquaintances, and that's reasonable. If you were to sort of match it up left to right, friends perhaps can recommend personal services like a great lawyer, a realtor, a dentist. So people think of their network as, oh, these are the folks I know, I'm good friends with. And there's actually oftentimes a difference between how women think of their network and men think of their network. So we're going to cover that a little bit later. But the truth is, your network involves many different types of people, at different levels. So it can be your friends at the most basic level. It can be allies. Allies could be a former colleague or a current colleague of yours that you're not necessarily close with, but there's someone that you know, and if you reached out and called them and said, hey, I'd love to just talk to you to get a little information about the work you're doing right now. I'm kind of interested in it. I'd love to learn more. So that could be what we call an ally. You could have a coach. Have any of you ever worked with a coach of any kind? Anybody? Yes. Okay, great. So a coach can give you feedback on how you're doing in your job. Feedback perhaps on particular aspects that you'd like to work on. Maybe you'd like to work on public speaking. Does anybody here like to do public speaking? Yeah, just a few. A coach can work with you to give you feedback on how are you doing? Are you on point? Are you getting your message across, et cetera? Now there are mentors. If you move up the food chain, does anybody have a mentor in this room? Who's got mentors? That's a big homework assignment I can see right now. All of you really need to think about a mentor. But oftentimes, perhaps, do we know how to find one? So your network can be composed of mentors who can help you tremendously with your career advancement, working with you, giving you insight about what it takes to move to the next level. I've mentored quite a few people, and it's always about working with the person one-on-one to help them think about where are they now and where do they want to go, and what do you need to do to get there. Then you have role models and sponsors. And if you think about it from the most basic level of a person in your network, your friend, all the way up to a sponsor. Does anybody here know what I mean about sponsors? Has anybody ever heard that term? Marianne? Yes, please.
I've worked in organizations where mid-level managers were connected with somebody where they'd kind of established a personal mentoring type relationship, and that higher level person would sponsor them as they made career moves. It was almost like having a bit of a guarantee that the individual being promoted or being given the opportunity to do a stretch assignment would do well.
Exactly. So a sponsor typically is someone either within your own organization, and I mean, literally could be as big as you see here, or it can be somebody perhaps in a different organization who might take an interest in you, be very invested in your success, and they have enough power and influence that they can put your name forward for a new job or a new project. I mean, that's not always about looking for a new job, but maybe you'd like to expand your scope of what you're doing and you'd like to find something really interesting and fun and different to do. A sponsor can actually move you forward, put your name forward, and suggest that you would be the perfect person to take on this assignment. And so when we talk about strategic networking, it's about building out the people who are in your world that may help you accomplish different objectives. Now, that's all well and good, okay? But when many of us think about networking, then maybe we get a little bit of the willies in the stomach. So I'm curious to know, maybe a couple people, what are your thoughts when you think about networking? And I'm going to pass.
Do you want to pass it?
Yeah, I'll pass it around. Yes, please.
I get really, really shy.
Yes, shyness. That's a good one. Yes, oops, sorry.
Potential conflicts of interest?
Hold on. Would you just like to say more about that?
Well, the balance between a person doing something and that obligation.
Oh, that if someone does something for you, it obligates you,
This
perhaps.
perception that, for example, if someone gives you a position, you're beholden to them.
That you're beholden to the person if someone gives you a position.
So I'm challenged personally by that.
So it feels very challenging and very...
Diplomatically and professionally.
How do you manage and balance that? Yeah,
And not
I get that.
inappropriate.
I get that. Pardon me if I'm going to walk around this so I don't keep walking into this. Any other thoughts around networking that may make you uncomfortable or anxious? No? Yes, Marianne. Oh, was a hand? Oh, Judith, yes.
Sometimes if they're in a higher level than you are,
you might not be, I don't know, I feel like some people are friendly and are willing to take responsibility to provide that guidance to you,
Yeah.
and others are not. So the feeling of being rejected maybe is something.
If you try to reach out to
Right.
someone, you don't know if they're going
That's
to
right.
reciprocate or respond the way you'd like them
Yes.
to. Understood. So let me share with you a rather humorous depiction of what many people think of when they think of networking. You ever seen the picture of the Scream? So tremendous anxiety for all of the reasons you just heard. Typical questions around networking and also myths. So what do I say? I hear this a lot. What do I say when I walk into a room, a networking event? What do I say to the person sitting next to me? Who's going to talk to me? There's always that anxiety of, is someone going to walk up and talk to me and speak to me? Or they may not know anyone there. Then I hear also, well, I don't need to network because I don't want a job. I'm not looking for a job. I'm happy where I am, and my work speaks for itself. So why should I have to network? Also, I hear, well, it takes too much time. And I'm busy. I don't have time to go out and meet people and do Facebook and do LinkedIn and go to networking events. I've just got way too much stuff to do. So no, thank you. The other thing I've heard is I'm not an extrovert. There is a perception that in order to be an effective networker, you need to be extroverted. You need to be outgoing and cheerful and all of that stuff. So, and then my favorite, you need to be slimy and fake in order to be good at it. Have any of you heard some of these before? Yes? Yeah. Judith is falling over laughing, yes. Absolutely. Well, it's absolutely understandable where these anxieties and myths come from. But what I'm going to walk through with you right now is a 10-step sort of strategy about how to get past all of this. Because none of this is actually true. Or I should say, there are ways to deal with all of these anxieties and actually counterbalance all of the myths. Number one myth is you don't need to be an extrovert in order to be effective as a networker. So let me share with you the first step. Do you all have something to write with? Okay, excellent. So number one, the first thing you want to think about, and this is an integrated strategy, so I'm going to take you step by step. The very first thing you need to think about, first of all, is what is it that you're looking for? So one of the purposes of networking is to reach out and connect with somebody for some reason of some kind, right? Otherwise, you'd be sitting by yourself in a room. So, there's some reason you want to reach out and connect with somebody. You must know what that reason is, or what reasons they are. So you want to write down your goals, or your plans, or your dreams, your ideas, whatever word works for you, you want to write them down. Now, what are they? Do you want to find a new job? Do you want to get promoted? Do you want to switch careers? And this is professionally oriented. Do you want to find a mentor? I noticed in this room, not many of you had a mentor. So that can be a huge objective for you. Do you want to start a side business? Many of us are entrepreneurial in spirit, but perhaps don't know, where do you start? Where do you start to go out there and do something on the side to generate some extra income? Well, the key thing is, once you figure out what it is you want, it makes it a lot easier to go out and communicate it. Sometimes, believe it or not, we don't know what we want. So there's a process of self-exploration that needs to happen first. So what I'd like to ask you all to do right now is take a few minutes, write down some of your goals and your dreams for your personal and professional life for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, I'm going to tell you that later on this morning, you're going to be asked to share one of those goals with a partner here. So you may want to write down a goal that you feel comfortable sharing with somebody else. Okay, so you may have other goals, but at least make sure one of them is something you can share with somebody else. So I'm going to give you, let's say, about 4 minutes, since we're going to make sure we end on time. Okay, wonderful. So what you've just done is you've written down your goals or dreams or ideas in probably a very informal fashion. You've jotted down some thoughts. Maybe they're fragments of thoughts. Maybe it's a few keywords. Maybe it's a whole paragraph. That's all great. Now, when you think about those goals and dreams, it's one thing if they stay inside you. and percolate. That's great. But eventually, they gotta come out. You gotta share them with somebody. But how do you go about sharing what it is you want to do in a way that the other person can hear, that's effective, where you can communicate what you want and the other person that you're talking to gets it, right? So, I'm gonna talk about creating what we call an elevator pitch. Have any of you ever heard the term elevator pitch before? Hands, yes, awesome. Okay, so on this side of the room, who did I see a hand over here? Who said they understood what an elevator pitch was? Come on, I saw hands. I'm not gonna ask you to do it. I'm just gonna ask you to tell me what it is. All right. James.
Yes. An elevator pitch is a very quick, simple, efficient way of clearly communicating an idea. So whether it's a job or your role or your mission or your company, something that you could literally do in 30 seconds on an elevator between the first and fifth floor.
Excellent. Round of applause for James. All right, yes. James, do you want to come up and teach the rest of the class? Because I could just sit down. Thank you. Oops, I turned it off. Thank you very much. So exactly what he said. The term came about with respect to the idea of if you ride from the first floor of an elevator up to, let's say, the 10th floor, and someone walks into the elevator, and it's someone you've always wanted to speak to, you've always been curious, or it's the president or the chancellor or whatever, and you think, I've always wanted to talk to this person, and oh my God, now he or she is standing right there, and what on earth do I say? Your elevator pitch, and pitch is probably not quite the right term, but that's the expression that we use. It's designed to communicate succinctly what it is you simply want to say to this person. And so when you think about your goals, you may find yourself in so many wonderful situations where you are sitting next to someone that you've always wanted to talk to, or you don't know that there's someone you want to talk to, but as you begin to chat with them, you discover that they do something that is very interesting to you, and you have questions, or you have goals and dreams, and you always wanted to talk to someone who does that thing. Does that make sense? Right? So your elevator pitch is designed to help you communicate to this person and perhaps ask them a key question or two. So when what you just wrote down now, you will translate into an elevator pitch. I'm not going to ask you to do that right now. You can take that home and work on that. But here are the key elements of what it should include. So again, you all are here at this conference. Do all of you know each other? Every single person in this room knows everybody else, right? Yeah, no. Okay, so let's say over lunch, you're downstairs and you are mixing and mingling, and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, I would love to talk to someone here today who works in finance, because I've always wanted to go into finance. So these are the key things you want to be able to communicate to this person, So I'm going to make it up, Lotta. Let's say, and I just met Lotta last night, so I can pick on her. So let's say Lotta's in line or sitting down to eat, and she sees Harumi sitting next to her. And she says, hi, Harumi, my name is Lotta. I work in contracts and grants. I'm making this up, what do you do? And Harumi says, oh, well, I work in finance, and I've been in finance here in university for a long time, and I do, blah, 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 right? So Lotta then has the opportunity and says, oh, I've always wanted to talk to somebody who works in finance. Oh, but what do I say? How do I not be slimy about it? So she may say, well, I would love to talk with you. I have always wanted to work in finance. I know a little bit about it, but I would love to know how it's done here at the university, goal. So is it possible, could I possibly get your business card? I would love to speak with you, maybe for about 15, 30 minutes if you have time, just to learn more about what you do. Would that be okay with you? That's her elevator pitch. It's short, it's simple, it's sweet. She doesn't go into a whole long dissertation of what she wanted to be when she was 5 years old, right? And she doesn't make Harumi feel uncomfortable. She's simply asking for information. This is the number one, it's actually networking secret number 2, but it's the number one message you should take away from here today. Networking is about exchanging information. It's not about hitting somebody up in a way that makes them feel uncomfortable. So, I mean, this, if you get nothing else out of this talk today, it's about learning how to exchange information and share and dialogue with people in such a way that you can communicate what your goals and needs are, but also hear what theirs are. It's about having a discussion with the person, not about like, oh, Marianne, you know. And so, I mean, I made up a situation on the spot, but asking Harumi, and you don't mind me using you, asking Harumi for information is non-threatening. It's different from saying, Harumi, I understand there's a job in finance. Can I talk to you about the job? You know? That's a little uncomfortable, right? Yeah, exactly. She's like, no, thank you. So now, once you are successfully able to write down you want to write down your elevator pitch and practice, 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 because there will be numerous opportunities when you can use it. Now, what I want to talk about for a minute is about getting out of your comfort zone, because you've written down your goals, you've translated it into a succinct elevator pitch, and now you have to tell the world about it. And in the world that we live in today, we have offline, meaning one-on-one, I'm talking to Marianne live, and there's, of course, online. Your elevator pitch or your statement about yourself, you're going to be using that in every conceivable way. And some of those ways are online, and some of those ways are offline. But you have to get out of your comfort zone to do it, right? You can't sit at home and hope that somebody calls you and says, were you interested in learning about finance? I just thought I would call you because I got a vision that, that you would need to learn about finance, so I'm calling you to talk to you about it. That doesn't really happen, at least 99% of the time. You have to get out of your comfort zone. So there's two ways that you want to think about doing that. The first way is getting connected online to start communicating with people. Now, how many of you, I asked this last night, should I have Lada ask the question? How many of you have a LinkedIn profile? Yes, yay! Okay, now how many of you have more than your name and your title and maybe your company on there? Yes, I'm so proud. Yay, I'm gonna go home now. Okay, bye. So the key thing is you want your LinkedIn profile to be complete with a picture. You want to have a picture. I know it sounds crazy because typically with resumes, you do not put your picture on a resume. With LinkedIn, LinkedIn is more than just about job hunting. It's about creating a personal brand for yourself. Your statement, your presence to the world about who you are, what you do, what you're great at, what you have to offer, because there could be any number of opportunities that could come your way through LinkedIn. It's not just come work here. Maybe somebody wants you to come talk at a conference in Berkeley, or whatever. So the idea is you want to expand your number of contacts that you have in your LinkedIn. You want to join groups. Any of you on groups in LinkedIn? A few. Okay, I strongly encourage you to do some research on LinkedIn. Find groups that pertain to your field. Again, professional field. So we're not talking about skydiving groups on LinkedIn. You want to save that perhaps more for Facebook. But from LinkedIn perspective, which is all about business and professional connections, find groups that pertain to your field. Once you find the group, use them strategically. You want to post comments on the group or find articles that are interesting, that are relevant to your field. Post those articles in the group. You can share thoughts, comments, observations, but do it judiciously. Do not overpost, because then people will think you have nothing else to do but sit around and post on LinkedIn, right? So, but the idea is that you want to start cultivating broader contacts with people on LinkedIn, reaching out to people that you think are interesting to you, that you would like to get to know, so that you can continue to pursue your dreams and your goals. You're reaching out to your first level connections. Here's the thing. Let's say you're in a line of work you love it, it's great, but you'd like to expand. You'd like to learn more, go deeper, broaden your scope or your sphere of influence. There are many people on LinkedIn that you could get to know, that you can cultivate a relationship with purely for information. Again, it's not hitting them up for a job, but it's about reaching out to, let's say, a first-level connection saying, hey, Marianne, I see that you know Monica, and Monica works in this field that I'm so interested in. Would you mind introducing me to Monica? I would love to learn more about X. If you don't mind, could you make an introduction? Then Monica and you get connected, and then you can learn more about whatever the field is that is of interest to you. That's how you want to think about LinkedIn. That's what networking is. Monica is more likely to want to talk to you if, A, she has a real connection to Marianne. Marianne's not just this faceless person who just happens to say yes. I mean, there's got to be a real connection. There's got to be a reason for Monica to want to talk to you. So going through Marianne, if they actually have a real connection, she's then going to be more likely to want to talk to me because Marianne recommended me. Versus if I'm just randomly reaching out and inviting someone to join my LinkedIn network who I don't know at all, there's no connection, that's not very strategic networking because the person may not accept you, right? So you want to go through your network. If it's not a first-level connection, find a second-level connection to find people to talk to help you get information to support your goals. Does this make sense? Okay, any questions at this point about LinkedIn? Because this is very important. I want to make sure that when you walk out of here, you really get the import of LinkedIn in your networking activities. Make sense? Okay, so now comes the hard part. Getting out of your comfort zone in the real world. Right? So it's still easier to communicate with somebody online than it is to walk into a room like this and meet people. Generally speaking, when I do coaching on networking, the number one anxiety people have is the real world, and coming to an event like this and meeting others. So what do? It's very simple. Say hello. Everyone's petrified that someone is not going to talk to them. If you just do one thing and walk up and say, hi, Marianne, I'm Vanessa. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. It's so exciting to be here.
Right, isn't it fantastic? Yeah. Now, okay, after that, you're like, all right, I said hello. Now what do I say? Okay, I guess I'll just go get some water. No, here is how you make this work. You ask open-ended questions. Not, are you having a good time? That becomes yes or no. Not, do you live in Berkeley? It's a yes or no question, right? This is basic. Open-ended questions. What do you think of this conference? Which workshops are you planning to attend? Really? How come you're attracted to that particular workshop? Just curious, or not, that sounds a little bit, investigative, but what is it about that workshop that was so appealing to you? Because it sounds interesting, but I couldn't decide between these two. Anything to get the conversation going, that's the whole point, right? You want to spark conversation. Here's a secret that I've often, a secondary secret to the top 10 secrets. One of the ways to be truly effective in networking is just be curious, right? Think of it this way, okay? You guys are driving on the freeway, right? And there's rush hour traffic. And there's tons of people all in cars streaming by or sitting in traffic next to you. Does it ever occur to anyone, even if it's just one other person in here, because it could just be me, but does it ever occur to anyone, who are all the other people in the cars? And then especially, imagine it's Sunday at 2, and you're leaving the East Bay, and you're going to San Francisco, and there's tons of people on the freeway all going over the bridge. I'm always thinking, who are these people, and where are they going, and how come nobody told me? So it's that innate curiosity, we all have it inside of us, about I'm looking at all of you, and I'm like, wow, you guys all look really fabulous. I want to know who you all are. That's the heart of networking. That's what gets you past the uncomfortable space of reaching out and connecting with someone. We do have our fears, like, is this person going to like me? Am I going to make a fool of myself? Am I going to say something dumb? You want to move past all that and just think, who is Harumi? Who is she? I'm curious. Even if you learn one thing, it helps you break past that initial anxiety about reaching out and talking to someone who's a total stranger. And so, in order to help you all do that, we're gonna have a little exercise. We're gonna have a little fun. So, I'm gonna ask each of you to pick a partner, and you're gonna introduce yourself. And here's what you're gonna do. You're going to state your name, your position, your department, and you're gonna practice an open-ended question. And I already gave you one. So, what is the best piece of career advice you've ever received or heard? So it doesn't have to have been given to you directly. You might have heard it somewhere or read it somewhere. But this is an opportunity, A, for you all to say hello and get to know each other, but B, to practice asking a question that, is a fun question. And so I'd like to ask you all to, let's see, are any of you sitting next to someone you already know? Split up. Find someone you don't know. And go ahead, you have a couple minutes. Make sure you take turns. How was that exercise? Fabulous. Yay, we like fabulous. So, yes. So, want to share with me why you felt it was insightful?
Well, I spoke with Mary Ann, and she had some challenges with that risk, taking that chance and realizing that she, like all of us, have put ourselves in place, and we are good.
Absolutely.
So we just run with that and build on it.
Absolutely.
And allow ourselves to be recognized.
Number 1 point, allow ourselves to be recognized. Excellent. Accepted? Accept the positive. Other insights that came about, interesting learnings, observations that you learned from your partner. Yes.
Well, I find every time you do this exercise of learning to ask questions and really listen carefully to where people are, what they're describing,
Yes.
that's a really good skill to develop and learn. And
Yeah, you've been looking ahead, right? You're absolutely right. And that is something we're going to talk about next, about listening. Any other interesting observations that came about as a result of the exercise? Anything interesting you learned from your partner? So, okay, well, let it percolate. So I'm going to walk around here so I don't keep walking in the middle of that. So, okay. So, who was it? What was your name? Louise. So, Louise is talking about this slide. Learning to listen. Many times when we go out and network, oftentimes we're thinking about WIIFM. Who knows what that means? What's in it for me? Exactly. And frankly, that's one of the number one reasons people don't like to network. Because this feeling of I'm going out to get something from somebody else and who cares what they want? It's all about me, it's all about me. Well, it can be about you, but it's about the person you're talking to as well. What I want to encourage you all is when you think about networking, think about it in terms of learning to listen to what the other person is sharing with you, and think about how can you help them. And it doesn't have to be in a grand way, right? It can be some small thing that you can do. How can they help you? It's this picture that you're looking at, they're hands that are interconnected. So it's about helping hands, reaching out, connecting people. I have here on the slide that it's about building social capital. Does anybody know what social capital means? Right. So social capital is the idea that the more you help other people, the more you build this community of folks, and it all just comes back to you eventually. So it's like putting money in the bank, right? You put money in the bank, you put money in the bank, put money in the bank, and at some point, you get to withdraw that money if you wish. And so think of it as you're investing in your community, you're investing in your network by helping people. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the person that you helped, that particular person, is going to come back and help you. It's not a tit-for-tat exchange. You're just putting out there your ability to help people and connect other people to other people. And you never know when that effort will find its way back to you and somebody will help you when you are looking for it. The more you get in the habit of doing this, the more you will find that it becomes easier and easier, and it's a lot of fun because you're just helping other people accomplish their goals, and they are, in turn, predisposed to want to help you because you're doing it, from a good place. It's not just about, I'm going to keep tally. Let's see, I helped this person 25 times, and they've only helped me twice, so I'm going to cut them off. You just let it flow. Did any of you read Malcolm Gladwell's book, Tipping Point? Right, so he talks about connectors, right? There's mavens, there's connectors, and there's a third category that I can't remember right now. But the connectors are the people who bring other folks together. Think of yourself as a budding connector. There's an enormous satisfaction from helping people, and there's power in it, in sort of a nice way. Now, having said that, I thought you all were done talking to people, didn't you? Yeah, no, we're gonna do it again. First, you're gonna learn to ask for what you want. We talked about that a minute ago, but here's the key thing. Oops, hold on one second. I think I skipped something. No, I didn't. Okay, we're good. That's the next slide. When you're out talking to people, the same way you got comfortable introducing yourself and asking open-ended questions, you want to keep your goals in mind because you never know when you're going to meet someone sitting right next to you who may have one little nugget of information that you've been thinking about and wondering where could you get that from. Sometimes we don't know who to talk to. So if you get in the habit of honing your elevator pitch, learning how to ask open-ended questions, learning how to ask for what you want, you will discover that you may just serendipitously be sitting next to someone on BART. This has literally happened to me once, and you just wind up striking up a conversation sometimes because the BART train is stuck in the tube and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I've got nothing else to do. And you just might start talking to someone and conversation just happens organically, but you always have in mind what it is you're looking for, even if it's something small. You never know when that person may be able to help you. Example. This new role that I'm in at University of San Francisco, I was not looking for. I was in another role. I was working as an independent consultant, and I was working also with a company, Lee Hecht Harrison, that does career coaching to people who've been displaced from their jobs. Loved it, loved the job, had no desire to leave. But it was part-time. I was an independent consultant, and it's part-time, and I thought, it's kind of nice to be able to pay the mortgage, do a little bit more things. But I so loved it that I thought, well, I'm not looking right now. But I was doing consulting work for different organizations, and one of them was Santa Clara University. And I was talking to the woman who's a colleague of mine. We're not best friends, but she's a good colleague, and we are friends. I've known her for a long time. And so I was just talking about the projects that we were working on and shared about my goal. I've always thought it'd be really great to work in a career services center. Now, that's what she did. She runs career services in Santa Clara University. I wasn't looking to go work at her career services center, but I had been talking to people around the country to learn more about what it's like to work in a career services center. But I hadn't made the decision that I was going to go and finally apply. You know what I mean? So I had just been in an information gathering stage. So I was talking to her and saying, it's something I would love to do. Tell me more about what you're doing. Tell me more, I'd love to hear more about what are the challenges, what do you love about it? So goals in the back of my mind, but I'm not asking her for a job. I'm not asking her to connect me with someone in that moment. Well, guess what? A couple months later, she calls me and she says, hey, I just got an email. My colleague over at USF is looking for someone to be associate director in career services. You mentioned in passing in this conversation, because I only talked about it once, in this conversation, that you might be interested. Would you like me to connect you with her? And I thought, oh my God. Oh my goodness. And I said, okay, I don't know, because I love what I'm doing now. I wasn't really looking per se, but sure, I don't mind talking to her and learning more about the job. Well, and here I am, So you just never know, right? I didn't assume that this person would be able to help connect me, even though she works in the same field. I didn't assume that, but I just talked to her to ask her about what she did. And she was happy to share that. So that's what I mean. You never know when someone's going to be able to connect you. So be prepared. Always be prepared. So we're gonna have some more fun. Partner up with a different person. Here's what you're gonna do. This is called the give-get exercise. Introduce yourself to your new partner. Now, you're gonna take turns. First person is gonna share one of the goals that you wrote down on your sheet earlier today that you feel comfortable sharing. The second person, your partner, is going to help brainstorm a solution. Now, they may or may not be able to come up with a specific recommendation or solution, but they're gonna brainstorm with you. Just talk over ideas. Write them down, and then switch. Then, if you have business cards or at least a name and email, exchange them, because your partner may come across a bit of information later on today in the conference or after you leave the conference, and they may be able to come back and send you an email and say, hey, you said you were looking for, a realtor or whatever. I just came across someone who's really terrific. Here. That's it in a nutshell. This is not complicated, folks. It's not rocket science, But it's about getting into the habit of asking and then also giving. Being able to support other people to the degree that you can, not putting yourself out extraordinarily, but to the degree that you can. So, I'd like to ask you all to stand up. If you're sitting next to someone you know, pick a new partner, and I'm gonna give you 5 minutes. So this is just a baby step, a first step in encouraging you all to reach out, connect with people, and learn about the importance of building relationships, partnering with others for success. So many times I hear from folks who say, well, again, I don't need to network because I already have a job, or I don't want to have to ask for help. Has anybody ever felt that way? I don't want to have to ask for help. I'm competent, I'm good at what I do, I shouldn't have to be out there asking people. Or it's not okay to ask. So you definitely want to be strategic about who you're asking for anything. Really try to gauge the person, especially depending on your environment. But if you feel relatively comfortable, as you've talked to this person, got to know them a little bit, you don't want to just immediately hit them up with a question. The goal then is to see if you can feel comfortable sharing information or asking a question, learning about them, sharing what it is you're looking for, and hopefully moving that relationship forward. Now, a couple additional points on networking secrets. If you do reach out to someone and they offer to help you, and they meet with you, let's say for an informational discussion, just say thank you. I know that we all learned this when we were younger, but believe it or not, it doesn't always happen. So if you send a written note or an email after you've had an informational interview or somebody has referred you to somebody, it's just a wonderful thing to do, and it builds goodwill. And believe it or not, it's just not done that often. What'll typically happen is, let's say I get introduced to Marianne, and I go meet with her, and we have a lovely chat, and I typically will say, well, thank you very much, it's been great, and then we go our separate ways. Customarily, that's usually where it ends. There isn't usually a follow-up thank you. And sometimes people don't think anything of it. They're like, okay, whatever, I said thank you in the moment, what else do I need to do? You distinguish yourself if you follow up and send a note to the person that you've spoken with and simply reiterate the thank you. It really puts you ahead of the pack, if you will, because people don't do it. And the person on the other end thinks, wow, that was really cool. That, she thought enough to send a follow-up note to say thank you. The other part of that is, yes. Mm-hmm. Hold on one second.
So you are really saying that in this day and age with young people and electronic and email, that a handwritten thank you note.
A handwritten thank you note, can you imagine?
Because that's what I'm suggesting to the young people that I supervise. When they go out as civil engineers to get jobs, I'm telling them, it's my opinion, that they will stand out if they go ahead and send it.
Yes. Absolutely. A handwritten note makes you stand out even more so than an email, but I'm just talking about something, because oftentimes there's nothing, right? So whether it's handwritten, which is even better, or at least an email, that really distinguishes you as someone who's reaching out and connecting with your network. Also, if you offer to help somebody else, do it. Follow up. If you cannot do it, that's okay too, but let them know. just simply say, even if it's a phone call or an email, say, I wasn't able to find the information that I had hoped I could find. I'm sorry, but I'll keep it in mind in case, I come across the information later. Just communicate. That's all I'm asking, that you continue to build goodwill with your network. Now, networking secret number 9, and this is your homework. It's about teaching you how to evaluate the strength of your network. You will find in your packet on your chair a page that is called How Strategic is Your Network? And what it does is it'll walk you through and sort of jog your thinking about what are the types of people who are currently in your network. Are they people who are just friends? Are there folks who will be able to confirm your thoughts or feelings about different situations you may find yourself in? Do they accept you? Are they role models? So there's a whole hierarchy, if you will, of people in your network. Your goal is to go through this exercise, write down the names of people in each of the 8 boxes, see if you can come up with different names, because you can put a whole bunch of people in the first box, the friendship box. But as you get to what we call the career functions, people who could serve as sponsors for you, people who could expose you to new projects, new opportunities, can you come up with names for those boxes? Or do you have the same name in like 4 different boxes? If so, that means that you're overly dependent on 1 or 2 people in your network. So this is a really eye-opening exercise. I encourage you all to spend some time doing it, not now, but later. And then if you discover that you don't have enough a variety of people at different levels, that becomes then your goal to reach out and figure out who would you like to see in those boxes? Who would you like to reach out and connect with to help you, further whatever it is, whatever your objective is. Finally, and I'm going to open it up to questions. We have about 5 minutes. The goal is to have fun. To realize that if you focus on helping people and letting others help you, sometimes as women, we aren't always comfortable letting people help us. It's okay to let people help you. You can have a lot of fun with networking. So in the last 5 minutes before we break, are there any questions at all? Oh, I have 6 whole minutes, yes. Are there any questions about anything we've talked about today? And please don't be shy, yes. Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. Could you talk a little bit about maintaining these relationships? So like if you meet someone briefly and you have a brief interaction and then you meet someone else briefly and have a brief interaction and then suddenly you have like this whole bucket full of people that you barely know. Like, can you talk about how important it is to maintain that and how far you should go doing that?
Exactly. Well, the truth of the matter is you only have like 27 hours in a day, right? So you only have so much time to reach out and connect with your 300 people that you're connected to on LinkedIn. So do not stress yourself out trying to figure out a way to stay connected to all of them constantly. What I would suggest is that there are a couple different ways you can do it. One is think of it as if you post something on LinkedIn about what you're doing right now. Let's say you post a note about you're here at this conference. You will find that people in your network will see your post and they will respond to it. And there may be people that you hadn't reached out and connected with in a while. So that's sort of what I might call a passive approach, where you're updating your network on what you're doing, providing them an opportunity to come and comment and share an interesting observation or tidbit so you stay connected to them even though it's in a passive way, because you can't possibly email 300 people constantly. Now, in a more proactive way, if you are trying to accomplish a goal or you're looking for information, you can skim through your LinkedIn network and look to see, refresh yourself on who's in there, because like you said, you may not remember. And you can ping them and say, hey, I see that it was great meeting you. I remember I met you at this whatever event conference. I see that you're working at Google, and I'm really curious to learn a little bit more. I know we probably had a very brief conversation. I would love to talk with you again. That's if you want to. There's not the expectation that you have to continually be pinging people, because actually that's kind of annoying, right? But if you post things out on LinkedIn, on your status updates, people will respond. And that becomes a way of letting your network know you're still around, you're still visible, and they will self-select. They will see that posting and think, oh, it would be really great to talk to Janet, and I saw that she did something interesting. They'll reach out to you. So, or you can reach out to them individually. But it's, understand that this is a community of people that you may or may not be interacting with every day or every month, but they're there. I would suggest, however, that you periodically look through your LinkedIn connections. Just periodically look, because you will probably forget who's in there. And if there's someone who strikes you, reach out and just say hello. Say, I was just thinking of you. It was great. I know I haven't talked to you in a while. Just wanted to check in and see how things are going. Or if there's an article that you come across that you think they might like, send it to them. And so it's that way of sort of very casually maintaining this connection. I see another hand over there.
I'm interested to find out the best technique to find a mentor, or how you would have someone become a mentor, mentorship.
And I saw some hands before, rather than me answer the question necessarily, and I do have answers, but does anybody else in here have a mentor that they want to share how they found that person? Yes, Andrea here.
I don't right now, but there is a BSA mentorship program on campus, and you can sign up for it, and I think it's going to be happening soon, so you should keep your eyes out for that.
And you said it's a BSA?
Yeah, that's Berkeley Staff Assembly.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
As a mentorship program.
Excellent.
Next question.
One last question? Yes.
Back on the question of maintaining a relationship, or, just navigating through that. So if you do, meet, have a good meeting, just serendipitously with someone,
Yes.
and they've said, "Oh yes, I'm hiring," or I'm interested in somebody with your skills.
Okay.
Send me an email. So you do that.
Yes.
And then you don't hear back.
Yes.
How do you know when to follow up without being too?
Exactly. That's a really good question. So if all of you heard that, if you've had a connection with someone and it turns out they have a job opportunity, and they are interested in you, and they ask you to send them your resume, and you do that, and then you don't hear anything, what do you do? The key thing to do is you do want to follow up. Let's say you send them the resume, and a week goes by, and they haven't responded, at all. You do want to follow up in a week and say, I just want to let you know that I did send the resume as you asked. Just want to make sure you received it. Please let me know whether or not you received it. Sometimes, it goes into a black hole. That can happen. And then if they come back to you and say, yes, I received it, I'm just super busy, let me get back to you in a couple weeks. What happens is hiring managers are extremely busy, and even if they want to hire someone and that's a huge priority, it can fall to a little bit lower on the list compared to the fires they have to put out every day. So what I would suggest you do is check in with that person maybe every couple of weeks, but in a very low-key way. Let them know you're still around, you're still interested. I can't tell you how many people send me one email and it gets lost and I never hear from them again. And I wish they would reach out and reconnect with me because I'm just really busy. So it's okay. You just don't want to overdo it. And then eventually what will happen is they'll let you know what's going on. They'll say, you know what, oh gosh, my staffing is on hold, or the person who I want to put on the interview committee, they're not available right now, but I'll be in touch. It's okay to follow up and check in. You just don't want to be doing it like every other day or annoying the person. But please follow up. That's the one thing that we often fall down on. So with that, I think we will wrap for the day, or for the morning.
For the morning, yes. Thank you very much, Vanessa.
Thank you. Thank you.